Yo, what's up, y'all? Everybody, this is going to be a great episode today. This is Assassin's Creed Part 3. And yes, this is your boy, John, aka Captain Mustache here. And yes, we're going to be talking about everything in between when it came to the later stuff. So, the origins of, Assassin's Creed, as well as basically the newest game that just came out. So, stay tuned.
We're geeks from the multiverse. We've come to unite all geeks. Now it's time to get geeky and dive right in, 'cause we're geeks from the multiverse.
Hey, everybody, it's your boy John, aka Captain Mustache here again. But yes, today we're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed and finishing this shit up. And of course, as always, with me is my boy, Mr. Grumpy Beard.
What's up, everybody?
So, yes, Matt, finally, we are done with this series. Not that we're, like I said, we've been talking about this for so long. I'm just glad we're wrapping this stuff up because, don't get me wrong, like I said, I love Assassin's Creed, but I will say that this one's going to be a little hard to talk about, especially because we've talked about some really good eras of Assassin's Creed, and now all of a sudden we're like, here we go.
Well, and there's so many fucking games. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many fucking games in this Assassin's Creed, franchise that, like, where do you start? What do you play? This era that we're doing is much, much different, radically different
Well,
than the original games ever were.
well, that's true. I mean, what's funny about these games that we're talking about today is that anyone can jump into it and really don't have any linear story to follow. They could literally just jump right in and be like, okay, cool. I guess I'm going to go play as a Viking, or hey, cool. I'm going to go play as a Greek hero, or oh, hey, by the way, I'm going to go play as an Egyptian, basically.
What I do love about this era in particular, though, I mean, the other ones were good too, but like this era had a lot of, if you ever wanted like a historic simulator of what like history was like, especially in Valhalla, these are the games. Because like you can be a Viking, you can go on raids, you have your little Viking ship that you take.
Oh no, I mean it's a cool little aspect of the game for sure.
Yeah, I mean you're literally going on raids, killing people, stealing. It's like stealing all their gold and money and trinkets and whatnot. But you can literally just, if that's all you wanted to do and you didn't play any of the main game, you can just go around and raid.
Well, but Valhalla, I mean, I still, just like you, I mean, I've been playing it for a while. I actually stopped, but there's so much in this game that you could still keep playing for a long time.
Yeah.
And then all the DLCs that they came out not even a little while back, I was like, come on, man. Like, I'm like, you don't have any other DLCs for any other games for the most part, some of the newer ones. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is a lot. But no, I will say this. So I know we're going to be jumping here shortly in a second, but like, all the games that we've been playing, or at least been talking about, a lot of those games I played, a lot of the newer games now, I mean, truly the only now two I could say I played is really Valhalla and this actually newer one, the Assassin's Creed Shadows game, which actually we'll talk about a little bit, but like I will say that, yeah, there's a big difference. There's a lot of things that you could do in these series of games because, like in the previous games, again, it followed a story. It basically had some linear path, and it showed you basically the whole Desmond Miles and like basically what they were doing after when he was dead and everything else. But this is like, what the hell are we doing here, kind of a deal. But I mean, You're right though. I mean, history wise, when it comes down to like ancient Egypt, being in Norway, being in actually, what's funny, even the what was it, Mirage, like being in Iraq, or like back then, or in this case, like with Odyssey, you're going back into ancient Greece, and even the newest game. I mean, this one's basically in feudal Japan, or a version of it, I guess, if you want to say. But like, it's just interesting how they brought so many different cultures, and now you're just like, all right, let's go into it. But I would say that if you were, let's say, a history buff, and you wanted to play some of these like older kind of mythological, kind of eras of like gaming, in this case, I mean, this is pretty damn close. I mean, the fact that, again, you go back to ancient Egypt, you go back to, Norway when the Vikings were there. You go back to ancient Greece. You go, all these different places. It's crazy to see, where all of these things are. But before we talk about this, we have a fix it or nuke it. So let's get to it.
Fix it! Nuke it!
All right. Yes. Fix it or nuke it.
What's your favorite movie, John?
No, hold on a second. It is definitely not my favorite movie, Matt. This is one movie both Matt and I agree.
It's broken.
Well, it's completely broken. And it honestly never made any sense because, especially with Marvel and the way they were doing this, well after the whole, Endgame and everything else, they thought, hey, why don't we bring so many fucking people into a movie? Because they thought, oh, hey, guess what? Endgame did so well. Why not bring in characters that, maybe people have no idea unless you read the comics and bring them into a movie and then let's talk about their background. And it's like only these short little segments.
Yeah, and then never show them ever again.
Correct, because then they're like...
But that's what the MCU does, isn't it? Like, they bring in these characters like America Chavez.
Oh, I know.
And you're like, cool, I really like this character. And then crickets. It's like when you dub a new Captain America and you don't see him for 6 years.
Hey, man, it's like wait. It's like your favorite other one, Ironheart.
Oh.
No, no. So basically, the movie we were talking about today is Eternals. So this movie, the problem that we're gonna say this real quick is like there's so much going on. There's so many characters. There's so many things that we just, unless you read the books, the comic books in that sense, and you actually had an idea of what the hell actually was going on, you really have no idea who these characters were.
No. I mean, you kind of understand that they're mythological beings. There's ancient tech. You get that they're gods at some level, but there's problems. There's problems, and so
there's problems from the get-go.
When we do fix it or nuke it, we're gonna give you some of the problems that were with the movie, and then there's gonna be two different cases that we're gonna bring. We're gonna bring a case to fix it, and then we're gonna bring a case to nuke it, and then we're just gonna decide whether or not after all that.
Yeah, true. And then I was going to say, you guys, the listeners, right? Let us know because honestly, we want to hear from you guys. I mean, what we say doesn't always mean that it's the right answer. So maybe there's other perspectives you want to bring. But anyways,
yeah, send us a message.
We have our first problem. Okay. So yes, like I've already mentioned.
You just mentioned
I did mention this already. So yes, the first problem is because it has too many characters and not enough emotional weight, right? So there's 10 immortal characters, one movie, and almost no present day bonding time. Absolutely correct. We're told that they lived together for thousands of years, but most of that history is delivered through flashbacks or exposition. The result of that is the portrayals and ideological splits feel basically muted instead of devastating. And why does this matter? Because like we've talked about before with Endgame and stuff like that, this is a movie about immortal relationships. If the relationships don't land, nothing else does, right? But not only that, when you're looking at these characters and we're only seeing them for the first time, it's basically like what DC did with the Justice League. Like, hey, these characters, but how do they get here?
I mean, this movie probably should have been.
This should have been like a trilogy,
like a part 1 of 2 or 3, because you really have to like dive into who the characters are in the first movie.
Correct.
Like a bigger threat in the second movie. And then if you do a third, it's like the conclusion of that threat and
right, and the tying in of all the characters. And the thing is I don't think that you should bring in all these characters all at once. I think you should bring a few at a time if you're going to do it, because then it makes more sense for the story.
Well, when they don't have any emotional weight either, it's just like you said. I mean, if you don't know anything about the characters, and we as viewers can't develop a bond or a relationship with them, because it's different. Like when you're watching, say, John Wick, or you're watching some of the older, MCU movies, like you form a bond and a relationship, if you will, with those characters, and you want to continue following them. But when you don't know them, it's like, Yeah, I really don't care if they die or live or whatever.
Right, or whatever's going on.
All right, so problem 2, no clear emotional spine.
There you go.
The film never commits to a single protagonist.
There you go.
Cersei feels like the intended lead. Icarus gets the tragic arc. Ajax carries the philosophy, but no one fully owns the story. And the diffusion makes the movie feel unfocused even when the ideas are strong. So why does this matter? Because big mythology needs one human lens. Without it, the story just floats, and that's what happened. That there's no emotional connection to one person. You have all of these characters, and not one of them is leading this fucking movie.
Well, not only that, I mean, you look at all these characters. I mean, they all have interesting powers for what they do, right? And so many of them are splitting up, and they have their different reasons of why and why they're living in the areas that they're
Well, it
living
had a
in.
great concept.
No, it had a great concept, but the issue, like you said, right, with the no emotional spine and having no human lens to watch through the movie and understand all these characters, like, you know, the main purpose of a lot of these guys is they came to Earth to basically like scout and try to see where they were at in like technology wise in the given times, but they stayed there for thousands of years and were living in different civilizations together, and they were helping them kind of build technology because they were already advanced, and they, you know, tried to get them up to a different level. But at the same time, these guys also just, I mean, yes, in some ways you could tell that they were also they were trying to be human as possible, or I guess depending on where they were at. But you're right. Where this is, you know, the biggest problem is that, you know, like you said, you're having way too many people. There's not really that main person to follow through with the movie, and then you have, Icarus being this, you know, basically good guy turning into, you know, a villain. And then it just, you know, I can see why they did certain things, but it just, like I said, there's too much going on.
Yeah.
So yes, problem number 3, right? So we got deviants distract from the conflict. Sorry. So yes, this one, the actual conflict is ideological, right? So obey creators versus protect humanity. The deviants aren't that, you know, they're the conflict, you know, they're a visual interruption. So every time the movie pivots to monster fights, it undercuts the moral tension it should be leaning into. And why does this matter? Let's see. Action should reinforce theme, not stall it. Because again, when, you know, yes, their creators were, you know, deviants and so forth. And I know technically the Celestials were, you know, the above all being. And of
Right.
course, that was why they were kind of there. And of course, then they're all like, oh, well, there's a celestial threat coming. And then you just see this giant being coming down, and you're like, the fuck? You're like,
Yeah.
and it didn't really have like an emotional lead up to it. So they were just literally, think about it, Matt. They were waiting for thousands upon thousands of years for also to do what? And then they finally, like, oh, wait, there's a celestial threat. We have to get, you know, we have to get the team back
Oh
together.
my gosh, it's now, guys.
We got to do it now.
After thousands of years, it's finally here.
Right. And I'm like, so you wait, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, oh.
Put your pizzas down. We got to fight.
We got to fight, boys and girls.
All right.
No, I agree. It's
yeah.
just,
So
it's
problem 4. This one,
Oh, here we go. This is Matt's favorite one. But go ahead. Tell him.
I always seem to get this one.
Yes, you
and
do. It's good. You know, I'm glad you did. Go ahead, Matt.
I'm gonna say it, but I'm gonna say this first. The Eternals got Disneyfied.
Now, Matt, if nobody knows what Disneyfied means, what would that mean, Matt?
So problem number 4 is DEI character changes without narrative consequence.
Oh, here we go.
So several character reworks felt cosmetic rather than structural.
Mm.
And changes in leadership roles or traits don't meaningfully reshape group dynamics, decision making, or the story's direction. The result is representation that exists visually but doesn't do anything narratively. Where have we heard that before?
I don't know.
Why does it matter? Because when changes don't alter the story, audiences feel intent instead of immersion. And that's like the biggest thing. And we've said it, I've said it multiple times, that when you're watching a movie, you have to be like sold. You have to be immersed into the story. But when things break that immersion, now you're just looking at representation. You're looking at like, oh, I'm so glad that they did this, but how does it affect the fucking story? Like, how do you switch genders or make somebody, gay or trans in a story and it doesn't affect the story? They're just like literally a person in the movie, and you're like, well, that's cool. Maybe.
Maybe I'm emotionally tied to it. Maybe not. Who knows? No, I agree though.
That's Disneyfied.
He's like, and there's your definition. No, I do agree. Like I said, it's one of those things that they're gonna throw a bunch of shit together and I'm like, all right, what sticks, what doesn't. It looks like a lot of it didn't stick, so it sounds like we're just gonna keep
But
going.
that's the
with
thing.
it.
I mean, as a writer, you're going, oh, I really want to like rework the genders on these characters and make this one, male, make that one female, make this one, trans or whatever. But nobody stops and goes, how does this affect the story and the plot of what we have? Because you should be doing rewrites at that point to rework these characters so they're not just a cosmetic change.
True. I agree. No, full heartedly. Now this one is definitely one of the biggest ones that both Matt and I full heartedly agree.
Yes.
So, and this one actually affects another movie.
Well, it affects a lot.
Well,
actually.
it does, I know, but it does affect a lot of things. But here's what we'll be talking about, right? So, the celestial fallout breaks the MCU, especially Wolverine. And so here's the reason. Okay, we're gonna go all through it because this one's a big one. So, the emergence and partial death of Tiamat is not just a plot point; it's a planetary event, right? A celestial corpse protruding from Earth's crust, not crest, should permanently alter geopolitics, religion, science, and resources. Resources, Matt.
Yes.
Then Marvel implies Tiamat is the source of adamantium. That's a tough one because, right, if we're looking at Wolverine's story, that's going to fuck up everything that basically they've ever done.
Yes, and that's thanks to the newer Captain America movie that they made.
Well, that's why I said, that's why I'm saying it affected other movies too.
But that's why Tiamat became the source of adamantium, was because of that new Captain America movie. They literally said that was the source and that they were just studying it. So,
which is bullshit.
It creates massive MCU problems.
Oh, yes. And so in this case, right, so adamantium becomes a recent cosmic byproduct, not a rare shadowy metal, right? And then this collides directly with Logan/Wolverine because whose entire mythos, right, relies on adamantium existing in secret programs, Cold War experiments, and Black Ops history. Not Black Ops Call of Duty, people. Get that out of your mind.
Call of Duty?
Call of Duty? What? No, I'm just joking. Yes, and then Weapon X timelines get compressed or rewritten. No shit. Mutant history becomes harder to justify without aggressive retcons. And let's see, why would
reboot, baby?
Yeah, reboot. And why would this matter, Matt? Let's see. It's because this isn't a nitpick. It forces future stories, especially X-Men, to bend around a movie most of the MCU barely acknowledges. So, yes, now we're going to go back into these problems for a second. So the reason why it's so fucking frustrating, yes, and I use that word, okay? It's because, yes, when Matt was just talking about Brave New World and the new Captain America movie, and when they said that, adamantium was just being studied. So, yes, if we all know when it comes to X-Men and Wolverine and all that stuff, at least with Wolverine's story, right? So you're saying that now because, now they're going to do these secret experiments and, and now Wolverine's kind of like whatever, I don't know how old he is at this point, with Bones and is, still there, and he's basically waiting to get through these experiments before he becomes Wolverine like we all know and love for the last, I don't know how many years, you know what I mean? Like, so it just fucks up almost everything.
No, it does.
We've done.
And especially if they continue using the Hugh Jackman Wolverine, which if at the end of Secret Wars, if the Hugh Jackman Wolverine is not dead, they have a fucking problem because his whole character backstory goes all the way back to X-Men. Like when they created him, it's back in the past. That technically never happened in the MCU.
Think about it. Wolverine back when he was, with the whole adamantium, claws. I mean, you're talking probably what 60s, 70s probably is when he got the adamantium.
And look,
I know.
I understand if you're listening and you're like that nerd who lives in your mom's basement. You're like, well, Wolverine was in a different, multiverse universe.
That's a pretty good impression, Matt, but go ahead.
It is, isn't it? But doesn't matter. I mean, you're talking different Earths, but there has to be like one main timeline. Like maybe that Earth, yeah, maybe someone did create adamantium. You know what I mean? But now we're just picking straws out of a bale, out of a bale of hay and going, "Hey, this is the one right here. I got it. I got it. I got it, John. I got it.
I got it right here."
But like having a celestial as the source of adamantium when we know from comics that adamantium was actually made as a mistake.
Right, because they were studying vibranium.
Right. They mixed vibranium with other metals and created adamantium, and it was a mistake. And then that's when they started studying it.
And dude, oh wait, live subjects like Logan.
Yes.
So
Not a celestial, not like this, like, oh, it's a cosmic metal.
no, and it never
No,
was.
Because now, and we've talked about this Wolverine thing before, but now you have to start these experiments, and you can't have a metal claw Wolverine for years.
Yeah, years. And that's why I was saying, because like I said, if you look at the timeline, it was probably the 60s or 70s when he first got those claws. And then he didn't really, like, if we're talking about movie wise, he didn't really meet, like, he met, like, of course, Xavier and all them a little bit later, or he met Xavier and Beast, I think, actually early on. But, he didn't meet with them until like the late 90s, early 2000s, right? If we're talking movie wise. So we're talking, that's why I'm saying we're talking almost like a 50, 40-year timeline that you just basically screwed up this entire thing. So yeah, now you're right. Because now if you want to play that, now you're like, okay, well, it's 2070 now. That sounds about right. And it's like, wait, what? And that's how long we have to wait for him to finally get his goddamn claws? Like, no.
Yeah, I mean, they're not just going to I mean, the movie Brave New World takes place now.
Right. Well, that's what I mean.
So you have to wait for them to study to find out what they don't even have the fucking metal. Like the metal, they only had a small little chunk.
Right.
And they were fighting over who was going to get to it first. So
no,
they haven't even gotten the metal yet. They haven't even started studying it. And you still take Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, who's still in the picture. And if you look at some of these, leaked trailers that are coming out, like, Professor Xavier is Patrick Stewart. Like the Patrick Stewart one is in Doomsday, and Cyclops is in that movie too, and we know Jean Grey's probably going to be in that movie.
Right.
So,
the one thing I will say before we go into the whole fix it though is like when you're looking at Logan and all these other things that we were just talking about. I mean, it's like all they're going to do at this point, man, and this is what I was going to say, is that they're just going to be like, look, we've talked about so many times. They're going to reboot, or they're going to say this is an alternate timeline, and then basically you're going to have a young version of Wolverine.
I think after Secret Wars, they're doing. You're going to have to do a reboot.
Oh, you're of the
because
entire
I think
thing.
the original Fox X-Men are probably all going to meet their demise.
Yep.
I would be very, very surprised if Hugh Jackman even remotely returns to be Wolverine after Secret Wars. And you're probably going to see a new Wolverine. Probably with bone claws.
Yep.
Because they're going to have to do that transition in another movie. And if they don't, well, they fucked it all up.
And then guess what? Marvel's back to square one.
Yeah. So I'll do the case to fix it.
Okay, then I'll do the case to nuke it.
So why it could work. So the core concept is excellent. You got ancient beings, you got false gods, you got creators exploiting civilizations. Most problems in this movie are structural, not conceptual. So format, focus, and follow through. So if we took Eternals and maybe make it, a limited series.
Oh, okay.
Or reduced cast, that would allow relationships and ideology to actually land. Removing or reframing the deviants would keep the story centered on moral conflict. And the celestial adamantium issue could be fixed by making Tiamat one rare source, but not the origin.
Okay.
And then a couple this last one, reestablishing adamantium as a pre-existing but newly discoverable metal. And taking, if you take all this fix it, case, if Marvel commits to consequences narrows focus, and cleans up the lore ripple effects, Eternals could become a more meaningful mythic corner of the MCU instead of a continuity grenade.
Hmm. You know what? I think we're going to start using that. Continuity grenades. I think there's a lot of those. There's a lot of those grenades out there. But yes, why should we nuke it? Because I know we're trying to wrap this up and get back to the actual episode we're going to be talking about. So yes, the case to nuke it. Why should it not be fixed? Right. So the characters are emotionally distant by design, which limits long-term attachment. That is true. The existence creates permanent MCU logic holes that future stories must dodge, which is true because, as we were just saying, the Celestial event is too big to ignore, yet the MCU keeps ignoring it. The only thing I will say about this is that I love how they're the only ones fighting this thing. There's no one else on planet Earth at this exact time that could not be fighting this fucker. That's all I'm going to say, right? Because it's only these people.
Yeah.
That's all we're going to say here. You know, tying adamantium to Tiamat risks damaging Wolverine's origin, one of the Marvel's most sacred storylines. Absolutely. And that's the problem, right? One of those biggest problems is right there. And that's why it's a very good reason why to nuke it. But of course, fixing all of this requires so many retcons that the cure may be worse than the disease. So it's true. I mean, well, no, it's true because, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if you really got rid of this movie, and then, well, at that point, you might as well redo fucking Brave New World at that point. Because
you can probably throw that one away, too.
Well, exactly. Well, actually, you know, that's for a different episode. But yes, definitely we should do that at some point. Yes, and of course, the takeaway here, right? So sometimes a concept is too big, too late, too disruptive for the universe it lives in, right? So fixing it would require rewriting half the rule book, and Marvel already struggles with continuity as it is. And that is very true.
Continuity grenade.
Hey, boom! Like, guess what? Because that's really what we're saying. What we're saying is whether you fix it or nuke it, I would say at this point, since it's already in the timeline and it's already there, and like I said, if you nuke it, you know, you're already risking a lot. I would say, honestly, you could fix it, and then you could still try to restore some of that shit. That's my personal opinion, right? But that's not really Matt's opinion or anyone else's. That's for you to decide at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that if Marvel would fix it or could fix it, that's really the quotes right here, right? Like if they could fix
right,
it.
If they could, yeah, not if they would.
I honestly wouldn't have faith that they could fix it. And I would lean towards nuking it as far as, you know, we're talking, would we fix it or would we nuke it as far as, you know, trying to fix it? I would lean towards nuking it because we know Marvel is just going to keep doing their DEI shit and keep changing narrative. And this movie is way too fucking big for Marvel to handle.
No, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I mean, yes, I do see both sides and I do understand both, you know, reasons why one over the other. But like I said, the only reason why I would say to fix it is because at this point, if you could change some of the, like, at least, you know, for example, like Wolverine's origin and things like that, you know, make it not so center focused on the Celestial piece or something else, like whatever the hell that might be, then it wouldn't be as bad, right?
I think if you just remove the Celestial,
yeah, I mean,
and gave them an actual, you know,
like villain or somebody,
yeah, gave them an actual villain, I would vote for fixing it. But if Marvel's like, no, we need the Celestial because future movie, you know what? Just nuke it.
Just nuke it. Just, you know what? I find out. You know what? I agree with you. If they're going to say no, we can't. Just nuke it. Just get rid of it. Don't pretend like it never existed.
Yeah, pretend it doesn't exist.
And guess what? And that's the difference with Assassin's Creed, because when it went mythological, it committed, right? Because at the end of the day, we already know that at least with Assassin's Creed, they're not trying to fuck up shit and at least trying to stick with the story that they already know.
So yeah, we're going to Assassin's Creed Origins.
Oh boy.
That one came out in 2017.
Yeah, you know, I remember actually, now I'm thinking about it, there was one guy I remember when you and I used to work at the good old Farnham Center, because now we can talk about certain things since they are closed now. I can't remember his name. It doesn't matter what his name is, but the point is he was a second shifter. He'd always mention, he was like, man, I love this. I love playing Origins. I love doing this. And he was kind of a squirrely dude. And if I could show you a picture of him, I'm pretty sure you'd remember him. But he'd always say like, oh, this is the best game ever, like this and that. And I'm like, are you sure this is the best game ever? Like, I don't know. I'm like, I mean, I know there's a lot of other
I
Assassin's
mean,
Creeds
maybe
out
you're
there,
just playing shitty games.
but maybe you should just go play Call of Duty at this point.
Oh yeah, if you really wanted to play a shitty game.
yeah, then yeah, go play Advanced Warfare. There you go. No, but I mean, Origins, I would say, because this is one game I never really played, but this is the first really transition from what Assassin's Creed was.
Yes.
Because I'm not saying that all the other Assassin's Creeds were not open world, but this one brought it to another level. Like this one really was the precursor for like this open world. Like, okay, guess what? Go figure out what you got to go do in the game.
So yeah, what's interesting is previous titles, they used what's called a paired animation system.
Mm.
And so if you don't know what a paired animation system is, this is where the player character would engage the enemy, and combat would be dictated by a series of predetermined animations based on the player inputs
Yes.
and scripted AI movements. So that's like when you're ever playing a game and it's like X, and then it gives you like
Oh yeah.
square or whatever A, B, and then the player just does that motion. You know what I mean? Like that's what the paired animation system is. Origins was the first one that moved to a hitbox system.
Mm.
So when a player wields a weapon, they strike at whatever is in range, allowing them to hit and injure enemies directly and creating the possibility of a missing an enemy entirely. So you have this is where you do your melee light attacks or your heavy attacks.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
One's faster, one's slower. But it's one of those ones where you have to actually walk up to the enemy, and your combat is hitting those buttons, and doing the combat. Where the other one was different because it prompted you to do something.
No, you're right. I
Yeah.
mean, like to parry or to, assassinate or or just do like a quick little stab and then run away, like do whatever that case was. But
Yeah.
no, I will say, oops, sorry, I don't know why I just did that. Yeah, it's that looking at Origins. I mean, it was interesting too with the map because I did remember looking at some gameplay. I mean, it was huge enough where you're looking around and it would show you like icons on the top, like kind of like a little bar up here, and it would like show you like the different like places or like pinpoints or areas and stuff. And that's kind of where it's first started, where like from this game to like Valhalla and so forth, they kind of did that same concept of having this little bar on the top where you'd have to figure out on the map. It kind of gave you like a quick little like viewpoint of where you were going and things of that nature. But it was also like and especially like I know we'll go to Valhalla in a second, and then like Odyssey is like you're looking around the map and it's not really telling you what to do anymore. It's kind of giving that open world kind of experience where you're kind of having to, like, you might get prompted here and there, but really it's like you're kind of doing it on your own. Like you're kind of just like you kind of have to learn as you play. Kind of a deal.
Yeah, and I love the setting in this because it's like it's 49 BC in Egypt.
Well, that's what I mean, like the ancient Egypt style.
Yeah, you have like I think that this says his sister was Cleopatra.
Okay,
I'm just reading it.
I understand, but okay.
But like you have Julius Caesar, like probably the original Julius, like you know what I mean, like Julius Caesar under the Roman Republic.
I would have thought it would have been like Alexander the Great, though, especially around that time of Cleopatra and things of that nature. If we're talking about history, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think Julius Caesar was a little before the whole Alexander. Like, I'm pretty sure Alexander was great, and especially around that Cleopatra time. Like those two would be correlated. I didn't know that they would bring in Julius Caesar because I can't remember exactly when Julius Caesar, when we're talking about timelines, if it was, before or at, you know what I mean? Like, because I'm pretty sure Alexander the Great came well after Julius Caesar. I don't know. This is just, history talking about here. But
yeah. No, I mean, I love that. And you're playing as Bayek of Siwa. That's his
Bayek of Siwa.
That's who you're playing as.
Siwa.
But like this one, I mean, it's like we say, it's mainly different because Bayek isn't motivated by like ancient prophecy or secret orders. Like he's just a father whose world was destroyed by systemic corruption and careless power. And it matters because the grounds of the reboot emotionally it grounds the reboot emotionally before the series ever leans into like real mythology. And like the hidden ones aren't founded because history demands it. They're formed because Bayek and Aya, which is his wife,
Mm.
recognize patterns of oppression repeating across cultures. So that's like really the key of Origins. Like it reframes the Brotherhood as a reaction to injustice and not some like mythic institution that always existed.
I do know one thing about Origins is that they actually, if I'm not mistaken, they actually explain why for assassins they cut off their, I believe it's their this finger. I can't remember what it's called.
The ring finger?
Is it the ring finger or the? I don't know. Whatever. There's one finger that
The
they
third
had,
finger.
it's the third finger. Yeah. So they cut off one of their fingers because it. Well, in this case, I remember in the game. I remember the scene is that they were trying to wield the hidden blade, and the issue was it was like too slow or something like that. And so the thing was is they told him, hey, cut off your finger. It might help like release the mechanism easier with your one finger, make it quicker. And so what it did was is this was the game that kind of explained why they did that. And so when you look at other games, they also do the same thing. They cut off their finger. And then eventually there was a point where they actually stopped doing that as a tradition because the tradition was is it was part of the assassins, brotherhood that they would do that as part of becoming an assassin. And so at some point, I don't remember which game, but they did stop doing that because they thought, okay, well, that's just stupid. There's other ways to get the hidden blade out quicker and things like that. So they made better mechanisms for it. And so, but that was
Oh, you mean there's better ways than cutting off your fucking finger?
Yeah, cutting off your fucking finger. That makes total sense. No, but it's true though because, like they said, they it was like a secret way, or it was kind of more of a tradition, and it was interesting how this game kind of brought that to life.
Hey, John, if you want to podcast better, you can cut your finger off.
Hey, why don't you cut your middle finger off? How about that? That's actually going to make it easier for you. Hold on. Tippity tap tap tap. No, no. I mean, it's just weird though. I mean,
No, it is weird, yeah.
It's just what they did. But yeah, that was one of the little fun facts I did know about.
Yeah.
That.
So this one was, the real. I mean, not that there wasn't RPG elements in the others, but this one, reinforced that philosophy. Like, as I said with the fighting, like you get to choose how you fight in this, whether you go stealthy or aggressive, like me. You can do ranged, or you can just be brutal and just slaughter everything.
Hold on, we'll try this again. Aggressive as you? Oh yeah, no. Let's try this again. Every other game I've ever played, he's like, "Let's go," and he's just like, bam, 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 bam. And I'm like, "All right, well, I guess we're going loud."
I go hot. I go loud. Let's go. Let's do it.
And then what happens, Matt? We usually die.
We die.
We die because that's usually how it goes.
But yeah, I mean, it Origins keeps like the mythology restrained. The Isu. The Isu exist, but they're still distant and strange, unsettling. The game earns trust before it asks players to accept bigger ideas later.
But this is supposed to be the game that basically, when you look at the timeline, this is how the Brotherhood, starts. Basically, where it was supposed to start, and so that's why you see assassins, and they're calling themselves the hidden ones. So yes, they're technically. I think they were originally called the hidden ones as the assassins, and I don't know whatever the Templar were, but I think that was just more westernized once it was later on, depending on their mythology on that. I don't know. Anyways, moving forward here, because I don't want to dive in too deep here, is that Odyssey, right?
Odyssey.
So this one, I really wish I would have played a little bit more, and I was kind of upset with myself. I do want to go back and play it because I always loved Greek mythology, man. I loved that kind of stuff.
This is the one that first dived real headfirst into mythology, right? I mean, this one came out a year after Origins did. It came out in 2018. This is a much larger open world, but it adopts pretty much like all of the role-playing genre. You have more emphasis on combat and exploration than stealth. You do have some naval combat in this game too, like Not
Okay.
not
Sorry.
like
Just
I
wondering
mean
what you're
it's
doing there.
it's a little bit different than what I would say Black Flag was, because I mean you're not necessarily going around. I mean I guess it's more of a, if you took like what the Spartans were doing on the ocean,
Right.
and like kind of the classic pirate
Esque.
esque thing where you would pull up next to a ship and then you would just jump on and just slay everybody.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
that's but you actually control a Spartan mercenary who fights both sides of the conflict as they attempt to find their family and eliminate the mysterious cult of Cosmos.
So I do like this one too because you can actually play as two different characters. Technically, you can be a female or a male, just like in Valhalla, because they'll do the same kind of philosophy. So
And you know who's in this game?
who's in this game, man?
The Spartan king Leonidas.
Woohoo!
If you don't know that guy, he was in 300.
This is
Sparta. Yeah.
buddy. I was
Hey.
trying to leave you up, and you're like Sparta. Like what is that? You're supposed to say this is. And you're supposed to go Sparta, and you're supposed to yell it, not like Sparta. Like what is that? Come on, man. Anyways, no, like I will say that, like I said, without playing this game, I really can't talk about a lot of it. But I do say that I did find it interesting that.
So yeah, you either play as Alexios or Cassandra.
Well, that's what I mean, right? So, like in this case, I'll mention this real quick. So, Cassandra is a critical, to making this work, right? So, without her personality, Odyssey, collapses under its own ambition. She's charismatic, emotionally intelligent, sarcastic, and deeply human, which is necessary because the world around her is basically escalating into absurdity. I love that, and she's the anchor that keeps the narrative from floating off into nonsense. So I find that interesting that you have to either really. It sounds like she's kind of the main person in a sense. So the other one, Alexios, is kind of like whatever. We have enough of dudes. We want to have a female be the kind of like which is fine, and it's not a big deal. That's not what I'm saying here, because really, once you get into like Valhalla, I mean, Ivor is kind of, you can play as either male or female, but really you would play as the male because he's kind of the Viking second hand in command to the whatever lord or whatever he's in. But so her immortality is not just a plot twist. It's a structural decision. By making her functionally eternal, Ubisoft gives itself a living bridge across timelines. She becomes connective tissue between ancient history, modern day events, and future stories that the single choice explodes with Assassin's Creed can do narratively. So I do find this kind of interesting because, I haven't played, like I said, this game, but I'm interested to see how, connecting wise, when it came to like the modern day stuff and, like what they were doing at that time, because I know, like when you're playing Valhalla, you do kind of go back and forth again, like with the modern day stuff a little bit. And then, like, you kind of do that a little bit more, jumping back. But
Yeah, so
I'm just curious about
yeah, I
that
mean,
piece.
like I said before, you are playing the elder of two siblings. Like, so it follows obviously you, but you're playing like the elder of two siblings.
Okay, so Cassandra's the older one.
I'm guessing. It doesn't say who's the older one.
Okay, fair enough.
But they're known as the Eagle Bearer. It's a legendary mercenary. You have Icaros, which is your constant companion. That's the eagle.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but you're playing in a time that was like, this says 431 to 422 BC, and so that's like way before the
Technically, that's way
events of Origins.
So I'm wondering if this is. Yeah, that's weird.
So it says it's before the events of Assassin's Creed Origins and the creation of the Hidden Ones, the forerunners to the Brotherhood of Assassins.
So then, really, who started what is the real question?
Yeah.
Was it this or was it that? I don't know. That's interesting. I mean, and this is interesting because I didn't know this. This whole Atlantis is the turning point. So this is where the Animus stops being a historical playback device and becomes a mythological interpreter. Interesting.
Yeah.
And the environments, the gods, the structures are not literal recreations. They are memory translated through belief systems. The Odyssey teaches the audience how to read Assassin's Creed new language.
So what's cool is like you actually do. I mean, I haven't played this game, but I've seen gameplay of it. But you do get to face several creatures from Greek mythology.
So
So
like the Chimera or like the I don't know about the Hydra and things like
but
that.
you see Medusa, the Cyclops, the
Okay.
Sphinx, and
The Sphinx.
a Minotaur.
Sphinx. I'm like, first of all, Sphinx isn't Greek mythology. That's all Egyptian. So I don't that's a little
It
strange.
says Sphinx.
I don't know.
So
Whatever.
but they're depicted as experiments of the Isu, which is the same race that created humanity and most of the artifacts encountered throughout the series.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I don't even know half of these names, but the only name that I know that you encounter is Socrates.
Yeah, I'm actually curious because I feel like there's got to be more people,
Yeah, there's,
probably like historical figures in the
I
sense
mean,
of
obviously
this.
King Leonidas,
Socrates. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if like King
uh,
Midas was another one.
a naval captain, Barnabas.
Barnabas. That's a very interesting name, Barnabas. What's your name? My name's Barnabas.
Barnabas.
Sorry.
But you do actually get to see Atlantis too in this game. So
See, to me, like I said, you don't have.
it's a cool like
It is a cool
yeah,
idea.
it's a cool idea.
And but this next one though, I mean, Valhalla. This one brought it to another level because
Oh, I love Valhalla.
I was genuinely surprised that when what I love about this one, and I'm not saying you didn't do it in the other games, but this one, it's like you start in Norway, and then you make your way into England. Like I can't remember what time frame it was. It was like 1200, like 1200s or something like that, or earlier
I'll
on.
tell you in a minute. It's 873 AD.
My bad. Well, well past all that stuff. No, but it's interesting to see like basically a young England. You know what I mean? Like not
Yeah.
really formed. Like well, they're formed, but not like what they were at that certain time frame. So like it's interesting to see how they're still living in a kind of like barbaric age in this game. And so like when you're talking about this game, Evor is just kind of like, well, let's just go explore. And Matt was right. When you're having this little tiny ship across, the river and you're kind of floating and
It's cool though. I mean, like I said before in the early part of the episode, like you get to go on raids. You
Oh, yeah.
build a raiding party. You can recruit like non-player characters to assist you, but you're playing basically as like this really
Viking.
cool Viking, and when you're going from place to place and you're in your
yeah.
you take command of your little your little Viking ship, you put up the sail and everybody's like they all start singing a song, or you can choose
Yeah, right.
between
You could choose.
you can choose between songs or stories, and they're it's like Viking drinking songs, when you're playing it. It's really really cool. But you can engage in a whole lot of activities in this game. Like you can go hunting, you can fish, you can brawl with other Vikings.
Yes.
You can do drinking contests in this game.
Yeah, that's right. And wasn't it like a limericks or something like that? It's like you know what I'm talking. It's not a haiku, but I'm trying to think of like
They were
like
it's called flighting,
flighting. That's what it was. Yeah,
which
I was
is
trying to remember.
basically Ubisoft describes it as a Viking rap battle.
Well, right, and it was an interesting concept because like you never see something like that in other games, and you're like
No, and that's
you're
why I'm
dissing
saying
it because you're dissing each other. That was the whole
yeah,
point.
and that's why I'm saying like these games like have become almost like a historical simulation. If you were to see like what Viking life was like you're doing it in this game, and I've always had an affinity to Vikings and Norway, that Norwegian Nordic culture. So
Matt's just gonna say he believes in the Nordic belief system. Matt's like, you know what? Let's just go move to Norway. I'd be happy.
it's a cool game. I mean, you're either playing, I believe, you're Ivor.
I thought it was Ivor, whatever.
I think some players in the game call him Ivor, but
Maybe I don't know.
But yeah, you're playing. You take on the role of Ivor. He's basically a Viking raider, and they lead their fellow Vikings against the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms.
Yes.
So yes, you do have the choice of either male or female.
I always choose the male. I'm sorry.
I'm playing right now as the male, but well, not right now, but
I mean, well, I don't. Okay, let me rephrase that. Like, I don't always pick a male or a female, like one of the two. But I mean, there are sometimes that I think it makes more sense to play, like especially in this game. Like I just feel like it makes more sense to play as
Yeah.
the male.
And I do like how this game allowed you to customize Ivor's hair, beard, war paint,
Yes,
clothing, the armor, the tattoos that you have.
it became a lot more customization
Yeah.
in this game for
And
sure.
then you can also expand, the weapons that you use. You can use flails, great swords, shields. It's
Right, and I'm not saying that, or because I don't really know if Origins and Odyssey really kind of expanded on that, but I do know that Valhalla really took that customization level to another thing, or at least another degree. Because, like I said, I mean, in this game, like I said, you really don't like it. Kind of points you in certain directions, but like this is a game where you could just go do whatever the hell you want. Like it doesn't really tell you this is what you have to go do. You know what I mean? It doesn't really like say you need to go do this now or else. Like, oh no, I mean when Matt's saying like you can go on raids and you can go take over a castle or you can, do any of these things. Like you literally can do whatever the hell you want. And it's not like you're subjected to just one thing. Right. So if you I guess you wanted to stay in Norway the entire time, then I guess go stay in Norway the entire time. But
yeah.
I did like how the map was set up though, because like I mean it's pretty big. It's not just like it's like this and that. Like I mean you get to
It's pretty big, yeah.
it's a pretty big map, for where you're going and everything. But the one thing I did like too is that I think in a lot of the other games too, probably, is that they also I know in like I think Syndicate it started to kind of do this too. And I think maybe it was just an Assassin's Creed thing in general. I did always like how they in each part of the maps, like in general, they'd always show like what level you should be at to go
Yes.
like into certain areas. Because yes, if you go into an area and let's say you're supposed to be 40 and you're only 10, I highly doubt you want to go into an area that you're going to get your ass kicked in 2 seconds. No, but like it's just it is interesting. Like especially where I think I don't know about the historical figures as much in Valhalla because there's a lot. I mean, I know there's quite a few of them, but I don't know of too many. I had to kind of look them up. I think for this one because there wasn't as many that I was like, oh yeah, I know this one. Oh yeah, I know this one. And then it was kind of like you have to kind of look up who these people were, kind of, because you really kind of didn't know unless you're like, oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting to know. So I do like how always in Assassin's Creed they do throw in people and they do kind of just give you that like when you look at the database and stuff, when you're looking at different characters, they kind of give you a brief history, of all these like different characters or all these like historical figures because it kind of just gives you kind of perspective of each, territory. So like it's just nice how, like I said, where Assassin's Creed has taken the time to, research, to put in the work, to really kind of give you that, you know, basically just more understanding. So it kind of just gives you that, I guess, knowledge, something you never would have known about. And so, like, that's why Matt and I have agreed that Assassin's Creed really does a great job with giving you that historical information. So, like, especially if you're a history buff, it's just cool to be able to look that up without having to,
Right.
do all that stuff.
And most of these games that we've talked about, it's the people at Ubisoft.
Is it
are
Ubisoft or is it Ubisoft?
I like Ubi.
Okay, Ubi.
Ubisoft.
Ubisoft.
Uh,
Where you work at? I work at Ubisoft.
I work at Ubisoft. No, I mean Ubisoft, whatever you want to say, tomato, whatever. But it's not like they're just creating a game with a lot of BS historical things. Like,
Oh no,
they're going to historians in, Egyptian historians and researching data and researching like the time frame, and they're putting it in the game.
I know, and they've been doing that since day one. I mean,
So
they've taken the time for this.
they're doing a work, and this one, you can kind of understand from Valhalla that yes, it's like Odin and Thor and
Well, mythology wise, yes. But
yeah,
I'm talking about like the historical figures that you would have seen in the game, like that kind of stuff. Because, yeah, I mean, mythology wise, absolutely. If you know anything about like Greek, Egyptian,
and
Nordic.
this one had lots of DLCs.
Oh yeah, I told you. I told you this game particularly had a shit ton of
Six
them.
of them from the one. So it's Wrath of the Druids, The Siege of Paris, A Fated Encounter, Dawn of Ragnarok, The Forgotten Saga, and The Last Chapter. Those are all the
Right. But
the DLCs that they have, and
you notice the other two didn't really have a whole lot of DLCs. This is the only one recently that had like boom, ba boom, ba boom, and it just was. I don't know. Maybe it was just more popular. I guess I don't know, but they were just popping them out like it was nothing. And I was like, no wonder why this game takes through.
well, and I mean, if you take the last one, I mean, the one right before it was Odyssey. That one came out in 2018. This one came out in 2020.
Yeah, right during
So
COVID.
this one took them what 2 years, maybe 2.5,
Yeah, give or take.
give or take, to actually do. So it's no wonder why this one is such a huge.
Game.
It's a huge game. I mean, I'm assuming by the tail end of when this game came out was COVID.
Oh yeah.
So if you put that into consideration too, like the work that they just put in this game, I mean, it is one of my favorites.
If we're talking about like this generation of Assassin's Creed, yes, I could
yeah,
agree
this
that
gen,
one,
yeah, this era of
there we go.
of
This
them,
era,
yes,
I guess.
is this one was one of my favorites because
He's like, I'm a little biased on this one, but
one, you're playing a Viking, but it's like, you're it's just a cool thing to. I mean, there's so many different things you can do, and it's
well,
not
it's a cool concept.
like you've ever seen it. And normally the Assassin's Creed, like you're just an assassin, and you're just trying to like sneak in, kill who you need to kill, and then you're trying to get out before.
Oh no, this guy is like, let's go berserk mode.
Oh yeah, no, you're flat you're flat out brutal in this game.
Oh no, I agree with you that this one is because it's interesting because it kind of takes a little bit of that Black Flag thing and kind of style, but it's like, hey, we're gonna throw that Vikingness, into this. But it's because like in Black Flag, you can be stealthy, but you can also be, again, a pirate who's raiding and doing all this stuff. And it's crazy to me to look at how they're doing that, and they're saying, hey, we're gonna, you don't have to always be stealth. If you want to go guns blazing and start, beating the crap out of people, then go do it, and that's the beauty of like what Assassin's Creed has always been is like, you know, yes, the point of the game is to be stealthy, but there were times that you were going in guns blazing. But this one brought it to like another level of that berserkness. And I did like about that because you didn't have to just be one or the other. You can be both if that's what you chose to be. You be stealth first, and then you say, you know what, I'm just going to beat the shit out of some people and just, brutally. Yes, I'm going to say it. You're going to brutally murder some people in this game. But like, yeah, it's kind of moving forward because I know it's for the sake of time here. But, some of the newer games, like right after this one, we had Mirage. So this one was based in basically ancient Iraq, is basically the best way to put it. This one kind of ties into Valhalla because you do meet Hassan, I believe is one of the other characters in the game. I can't remember if it was an older woman. She was an assassin. Like you meet her.
That's probably Layla Hassan.
That was a Layla Hassan.
Yeah.
Oh, is that okay? My bad. See, this is why. And then, but I'm trying. I think it's Qasim is his name. The guy who was in Mirage. I can't remember his exact name, but he's the mentor, basically the protege of Layla. And kind of you basically follow that story. So it's interesting how they did another linear, kind of correlation again. So like, they were like, hey, we're going to show you Valhalla. We're going to show you some characters in this game, but then we're going to say, hey, by the way, there's also a new game coming out, Mirage. And this kind of ties into some of the events in Valhalla, but it actually is a precursor before this. Like it's supposed to be like this game was before he went, to, basically Norway and all, or wherever. I think it was England or wherever they met at that time. So it kind of gives you that little difference too. And, you kind of basically explore, again, ancient Iraq, so again, a Middle Eastern. So like, we went from Egypt, we went from Greece, we went from Norway to Englandish, in that sense. And well, of course, France too. But like, in this game, again, going to Iraq. So you're already in so many different aspects of the world already in this era of gaming. And so, again, I mean, I played a little bit of Mirage. I mean, it's interesting because it's kind of like Valhalla in the sense where, you're kind of exploring and you're doing your thing, and again, it's not really like this one does kind of show you where to go, and you kind of get an idea of where things are and what you need to do, and of course, like um, the viewpoints and all that stuff, like like typical games, or at least the typical Assassin's Creed games. But it just it's a little different, right? Because I mean, you're there is a little bit of customization, there is a little bit of differentness. There's different things that you can do as well, but it's just again, I can't explain it. I mean, it's really more of an experience, right? Because like each one of these games have been somewhat similar, but they have their own unique take for what they're doing, at least with each person that you're playing as in each of these Assassin's Creed games. But so in this case, um, so Layla, Hassan.
Yeah, so she, just for a little history of where she appeared in these games, she first appeared in Origins.
Did she really?
Yeah, she was in Odyssey.
Oh wait, no, we're talking
And
about the
then
modern day stuff, right?
yeah, she was in Valhalla.
Oh, that's why I was confused. I thought it was the old woman, like in Valhalla.
So she, let me go back to the top of this. She worked for Abstergo Industries. She was a former employee.
Yeah, that's right.
She was forced to leave because a Templar, she was forced following a Templar attempt on her life, and then she was offered a position with the assassins by their leader, William Miles.
Who is also from the original games, and
Right.
he was one of the I think it was one of his Desmond's best friends or something like that. I can't remember exactly the correlation, but yeah, he kind of takes over the project after Desmond is dead, of course, or what we think is dead.
So I think, well, this is saying, she became an important member of the Brotherhood. She took control of her own assassin cell within the year. In 2018, her exploration of the mythos Cassandra's memories led her to the ancient Isu complex of Atlantis, where she received the staff of Hermes. Oh boy, I don't do well with these.
Go ahead.
freaking
I'm
names.
just curious. Go ahead. Keep going.
Trismegistus.
He's like, I can't speak today.
I'm just going to say the staff of Hermes
There
from
you go.
Cassandra.
Okay.
So that's kind of where she, that's like a little bit of her history, but she's just this brilliant researcher who believes the Animus is a tool she can master. And then over time, it becomes clear that she's wrong.
Absolutely.
Not because she's incompetent, but because the technology is fundamentally transformative. So the Animus becomes her escape, her validation, and eventually her obsession. Each game pulls her farther away from the present world and deeper into abstraction. So by Valhalla, Layla isn't operating in reality, she's negotiating it. So her transformation into a non-physical consciousness alongside the reader, Desmond, marks the franchise's final break from the grounded conspiracy storytelling. And the stakes are are no longer geopolitical, they're existential. But she doesn't fall, she transcends and pays the price for it ultimately.
So sorry, I thought Layla was part of like the never mind. So I mistaken when it came to the character, because now I understand. Yes, now that makes more sense of why she's now important from Origins and moving forward. I didn't realize that was her name because you only see her from time to time. It's never like you're not really focusing on her as much. You're really
Right.
focusing on these characters in the game. But I know we got a little bit more, but I don't know if you really want to talk about some of this stuff. It's up to you.
Well, I mean, the Isu, I guess we can talk about. I mean, I think we've talked about the Animus, but the Isu were, I mean, in this era, the Isu stopped being these like mysterious Easter eggs, right? I mean, we hear about the Isu, but we don't really know about them or what they, but they become a structural framework of this kind of new universe that Assassin's Creed is doing. So like reincarnation cycles explain gods across cultures, artifacts manipulating perception, time, and reality. Genetic echoes justify reoccurring archetypes across the history. And the solar flare catastrophe reframes ancient apocalypse myth to technological disasters. And crucially, the Animus explains why everything looks mythic. It doesn't show objective truth, it interprets memory. So culture shapes visualization, belief shapes environment, and this is how Assassin's Creed justifies wildly different mythologies without breaking their own like internal logic. So the lore becomes elastic on purpose.
Okay. I mean, I'd say the problem is I never really knew like the Isu were like this kind of like the what we would basically kind of call the Templars in the sense of the sake of this. Like, because I never really, maybe I just didn't pay attention to that piece of it. Because like I wish they would just say Assassins, Templar. That's it, and just not make this a little bit more like, hey, we got to make a new universe, new kind of culture, like explaining all this other stuff. But I will say this because I know we're trying to wrap this up too. Is that I have recently played Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's interesting because it's a very different take on Assassin's Creed in general, but this one basically the best way to describe it is like you're playing as this woman named Nawe or Naoe, but Nawe I think is how they say it. And then there's this other guy who's named actually he's a slave, but they gave him one name and then they changed his name to Yasuke, who is basically this black samurai. Yes, you heard me correctly, a black samurai who's actually apparently from I believe somewhere in Africa, but like he's a slave somehow through the Portuguese, and he's basically for this. I want to say it was either a monk or like a father, like father somebody. I can't remember his exact name because again, I only just played it, of course, recently. But like, it's interesting because like he gets invited into basically the samurai clan Yasuke, right? And so he becomes this samurai and works for this lord. I think it's Nabunagi or Nabunaga, I think is his name. And so you kind of see a little bit of him, but really the focus of the story is really Naue for the most part so far that I've been playing. But what's interesting about this game so far is that this one really does not tell you a lot of where to go. I'm serious. Like this one, for whatever reason, does not really tell you a lot. Like it tells you a little bit, like you're following the story. There's a lot of cutscenes. I'm not gonna lie. But
it's like Valhalla too. I mean, Valhalla, you didn't really know where you were going until you found a mission to do, and then it would tell you like
where the objective.
Go there. Yeah.
But no, but here's the beauty of this, Matt. So yes, it does give you like a little skill tree, and it gives you kind of like it's very similar to Valhalla in that sense. But here's the interesting part. This is the part I never thought they would have ever done. But what they do is the scouting system. Okay, so what it does is so like when you have a mission, there's like usually I think there's like 3 objectives for like each of these missions. You actually have to figure out where the hell you're going. And so what you do is you find an area of the map and it tells you, okay, northwest of this area. And it's like giving you 3 clues of where it's at. And then when you can figure it, kind of pinpoint it, you basically, I think it's like square, you click on this certain area and you basically do a scouting report. And then that's how you figure out where you need to go. So it's like an extra step to make it harder for you to figure out where the hell you're going. So it's interesting in that sense, but like, yes, there is customization. I will say that you get to ride, just like in every other game, there's always like horses and all these other things. It's interesting because this is Japanese, right? So this is weird because you're actually like, for example, like right now you can actually ride, I kid you not, Matt, a dragon.
Nice.
You can ride a dragon. You can ride this ancient looking fox, this big fox that I can't even describe it. You have to see it, but there's so much that is different about it that it reminds me of Ghost of. A lot of people like to call it Tsunami or Szechuan chicken or
Szechuan chicken.
Szechuan chicken. So a lot of that gameplay of Ghost of Tsushima or Yote, it's very similar. And then like remember how we were talking about the hitbox style of like there's a light and the heavy attack and there's parrying and things like that.
Right.
So they use that a lot in this game. So they're very like, you have to be quick. And so like, it is interesting and it's very fast paced. And I love that, but it's also hard because, Naue is basically a shinobi. So a shinobi is basically what you would call a ninja, like early on. So that it was like an earlier version of the shinobi. But anyways, the point is of the story so far is like, you're trying to kill the Onryo, which is the ghost. It's like this crew of people that it's just very similar to the other Assassin's Creeds where you're trying to basically kill all these leaders or all the like the different subsect of leaders, and then you have the main, you know, villain, I guess if you want to call it. But it's an interesting game so far. I mean, it's different. It's very similar to those two games of Light I mentioned, but I would say honestly, if you like the Japanese, samurai, being a ninja, doing all that, it's a very interesting game, like I said so far. So I mean, it did recently come out. I think it was last year, like October or November. Yeah. Okay. Oh, actually, wow, I was way off. Sorry, it came out in March of last year. My bad. I thought it was early. I thought it was later than that, but I guess I was wrong. Anyways, the point is like it's an interesting game. I would say give it a shot. I'm not saying Matt, you have to play it. That's up to you. I like it so far. It's a little bit different, but it's one of those things you have to play to kind of understand. And this one is different because there's also a narrator, and it was like a guide that would tell you a little bit of like different, like segments or like moments or whatever in history. And then it's like, okay, you're not going to see me for a while. Bye now. And then it's like, and then you're like, wait, what? And then
Yeah.
you don't understand what's going on. But
So,
anyway,
yeah, this does say like the missions are non-linear, so it encourages you to track and eliminate targets freely. So that's like the change of the previous games because they were more linear in the
Right.
way that you did it. You had to do them in certain, you had
a
to
certain order.
progress through the missions. But yeah, this one, like you were saying, like it doesn't reveal the exact locations of targets or key NPCs. You have to recruit
Yes, scouts.
and deploy scouts to narrow down their exact location based on clues that have already been given.
Right. So what I'm saying is it makes it a
So
little bit
basically,
harder.
you end up for an hour running around
Yes.
and you actually do nothing.
Like it's true. I mean, literally, there's one mission. I kid you not. It's called "Throned with the Dogs." That's the literal name of the mission, and you're literally you technically pet this dog, and then you're like, okay, go help me, or it's like, hey, go let's go follow this dog somewhere and go kill some enemies, and then it's a weird, like I said, it's a very interesting game,
That
but
sounds like Far Cry.
it does sound like Far Cry.
Because I think there is a mission with that too, like
Yeah.
the dog with the little.
Yeah, you're talking about Boomer.
Yeah, with no back legs. Yeah.
Oh no, Chorizo. You're talking about Chorizo in Far Cry 6. Yes.
Yeah, the one that you had to freaking follow him and.
Yeah, and you had to get him like treats, and he digs up these little things for you. No,
Yeah.
this one's a little different, but like, no, I will say that this game, it's interesting because you can actually build a hideout. There's so much you can do in this game. I can't even describe all of it, but like, if you ever get a chance to play it, especially because it's newer, I would say give it a shot. I mean, I know it's on sale right now, but that's just a different thing. But yes. Anyways, with wrapping all this stuff up, because I feel like we've talked about Assassin's Creed quite a bit today, and for the last couple episodes before, um, like I said, we're at this point where you land the idea that this era didn't abandon this basically the Assassin's Creed like franchise. It expanded it. The rooftop Assassin's fantasy evolved into a saga about memory, identity, and myth. Whether fans love or hate that shift. Not that shit, but
that
shift.
Whether they love or hate that shit.
It represents the franchise refusing to calcify, which, and again, the Animus didn't break the series, which is true. But it's true, right? Because if you can't, grow or you can't expand or you can't blah, 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 like reinvent the wheel, then you're never going to survive. I mean, Assassin's Creed has been around, actually, now I'm thinking about it, I mean, almost 20 years. I mean, granted, depending on, I didn't say quite 20 years, but it's been around for quite a bit now. So it's just one of those games that, like I said, I always viewed it as one of my favorite because I always loved history. I always loved the different styles and the different characters that you're playing as and all these different things. But, it's one of those franchises that actually followed the damn blueprint because they created what basically a lot of these games, like now, especially with Ubisoft, especially with Far Cry and especially with some of these other games, they followed suit with what Assassin's Creed did. So the only ones that haven't done it, Matt, ready, is Matt's favorite video game series of all time, Call of Duty. No, I'm only saying that because it's true, because we're always seeing the same shit over and over and over and over again, and you're never getting anything better. It's just, this series of games, like we've said, if you hate or love, Assassin's Creed, I'm telling you, it's honestly an experience. I say it's really just an experience. It's more you have to play it to understand.
Yeah, I mean we're kind of 2 years away from it being 20 years, but yes, because the original
I think it was
game,
2008, right?
2007.
Was it? 2007, really?
2007.
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was 2008. Okay, well, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I mean,
It's
it's
almost
like
20 years,
like
man.
18 years. Is that 18?
Almost 19 now, depending on when it came out.
Almost 19. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's one of the best franchises. I mean, I don't know if it's like the longest. It's definitely not the
Definitely not
longest
the
running,
runnest, no.
but when you look at what Assassin's Creed is and the games that it has, I mean,
I would say for modern day gaming, like it's definitely one of those franchises that has tremendously impacted a lot of the gaming culture.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
You know, but anyways, yes, we're done talking about Assassin's Creed. We love Assassin's Creed. If you like it too, let us know. Hit us up on that good old Facebook or Instagram or that good old what used to be called Twitter, but now X. And all that fun stuff. You can always reach us on our good old website and all
And
that.
I've been
stuff.
trying to do some different graphics with our posts and making them interesting. So check out our posts. Leave us comments.
Hit us
like, share, subscribe. We do all those.
Tell your friends.
All those funny things.
Yeah, and especially down the road. I mean, Matt, can you believe it's almost been 3 years?
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Crazy.
I mean, the fact that Matt and I were like, you know what, we're just going to do it, and now it's been almost 3 years since we've been doing this.
We're almost at 150 episodes.
Holy crap! That's a lot of episodes, Matt. Didn't you remember the 20? Was it the 20th episode?
Yeah, we were like, hey, we made it to 20 episodes, and here we are. We're at like
150.
Yeah.
Holy shit, is all I got to say. And, in a couple weeks down the road, just going to say this, we're going to be hopefully bringing our wives back for our good old Valentine's Day episode too.
And I can tell you what we're going to do. Just a little sneak peek because our Valentine's episode is going to be,
oh boy,
we're going to do a husband translation service.
Oh, God.
Where we're going to give our phrases like, I'll do it later. It wasn't that expensive. And find out how our wives interpret that in what the wives actually hear.
Oh,
and then
great.
we are putting rom-com romance myths on trial.
Oh, God. This sounds like a very interesting episode already, and especially where the translation one. I feel like yours are going to be funnier, Matt. I don't know.
I feel like both of ours might be funny.
I know. It just all depends. But I know. But yes.
So if you ever want to hear what wives actually hear when us guys say certain things, you're going to want to check that episode out because it's going to be great.
And again, whether you're married or not, guess what? It's still the same no matter which way you look at it too.
Yes.
But anyways, yes. When we come down to this, we're always supportive of you guys, even if it's the 8 people that listen or the randos that like to send us messages and, randomly say, hey, we're going to help you with your podcast. Would you like us to, whatever that is. And I'm just like, whatever, you do your thing. But anyways, boys and girls, until next time,